Welcome to Energize and Revitalize with Dr. Amy. I'm Dr. Amy Cooper Smith, a doctor prepared nurse practitioner, and this show is about empowering you to live a radiant, healthy, and balanced life. I'm very excited to introduce today's guest, Benjamin Smith, certified health coach and founder and CEO of the Ultimate Health Model, which is an approach that addresses underlying reasons for health issues. And he's also the author of Why Are You Sick? How to Reclaim Your Health with the Ultimate Health Model. So, welcome and thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you very much for having me.
I have shared with my listeners before, I love to read books about health and wellness. So when I have authors on, it's just such a treat for me. So I'm really excited to get into the Ultimate Health Model and to have you share with our listeners what you've written about.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, before we get started,
Yeah.
I didn't even think about this. You need to listen to the Ultimate Health Model, the audiobook. I don't know if my team sent that to you, but that is the book because you're reading the book, right? You
Yeah.
like the book. Well, imagine that 100 times better.
Ooh, why is it
Yeah.
better?
Oh, because all those cartoon characters do you see all the
Yeah.
cartoons in
Yeah.
there? All those people are talking
Hmm.
in the audiobook. So think of it like this, Amy. It's a comedy routine meets podcast meets science lesson all in one.
I love it.
Yeah, so it's basically like most health audiobooks are great information. You have one person narrating it, right? And they're
Yeah.
reading whatever the material is. But imagine a movie in your ears. This is what this is. Yeah, I know. I was like, I'm very creative. I'm like, hey, maybe I should do this. It was funny because um, when I was making the audiobook, I met up with a friend of mine at a conference and she goes, Ben, she goes, why do an audiobook for this? I'm like, oh, Doreen, no, it's too much work. Because I just had done the print book, right? And she goes, but I went back to my hotel because I was at a conference. I thought, a light clicked on. I was like, wait, all my cartoon characters that me and my artist created, they could do the book.
Ah,
So eight
that's
months
very clever.
later, yeah, 8 months later, with a lot of work, a lot of actors, and it wasn't just you had to hire actors and all that. But anyway, it's if you like the book, I say that. Sorry for going off topic. I say that because people love my book, but if you love the book, the audiobook is literally 100 times better.
Ah,
So
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll check that out too. So, can you summarize for people what is the ultimate health model?
The ultimate health model is a blueprint to find your way back to health. What do I mean by that?
Yeah.
So it's a red side and a green side. As you know from reading, the red side are things that you do not want to do as little as possible. And the green side are factors you want to do as much as possible. It's really that simple. Green, go, red, stop. And so they're just factors. And then they lead up to these circles that are kind of telling you from a sciencey, nerdy point of view what's going on in the background. Like it's causing inflammation, immune system suppression, mitochondria dysfunction. I'm sure people might have heard about the mitochondria, but that's kind of like the sciencey part. And then that goes up to a banner that says either ultimate health or chronic disease. It's that simple. So anything you put in the red side box at the top for the chronic disease box, you can put, I don't know, diabetes, heart disease. You could put insomnia. It doesn't matter. You could put gout. You could put any kind of, fiber, whatever it is. And they're all contributed. I'm not saying cause because there are many causes, but the contributing factors are those red side, period. And so you fall like a blueprint if you have obesity. And so it's really a map, basically. I call it the ultimate health model to work your way back to health. And you put on your fridge, and let's say you have insomnia. You put insomnia in the top box on the red side versus chronic disease, white it out, whatever you want to do, put tape over, I don't care, and then follow it. Right. And then you go, okay, I'm gonna get sun. I'm gonna drink structured water. We can talk about that. I'm gonna get connect to nature. I'm gonna eat good food. I'm not gonna be on my phone as much. I'm not gonna stress. And then lo and behold, voila, everything starts to get better. I mean, it's really that simple, and we've made it so complicated. There's so many people talking on podcasts about, as you know, LPA and ApoB and right, all these different.
Right.
It's like, I mean, I know what it means, but the average consumer doesn't, and they don't need to be frightened all the time,
Yeah, we
right?
get through information overload, I think, as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, it's information overload, and then or someone saying microplastics. You've heard about microplastics, and then
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, that's the big thing going right now. It's in everyone's body, blah blah blah. Which is okay. That might be true, but when you understand the ultimate health model, and when you understand your body like a city, and this is kind of one of my core things as well, is that I don't know if you ever saw the movie Osmosis Jones back
I
in the
have.
90s. Did
Oh,
you see
yeah.
that?
Oh, yes.
It's fabulous. That's where I got a lot of my inspiration from. The body is a city. And remember,
Right.
remember in my book, those pictures, the cell city pictures?
Yeah.
I don't know if you got that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought to myself, well, if the mitochondria is the engine of the cell and the power plant, and we've known that for 50 years, I thought, wait a second, let's expand on this analogy. Maybe that includes everything else as well. And so with the microplastics, here's what's going on. When the city is resilient and running fine, I live in Los Angeles, when the city's running fine, everything's great, then the microplastics are like dust that the city workers are sweeping up. Is that a good analogy?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like dust. Okay. I mean, dust in your house. When the city is under stress and constant, the immune system, which I call the police force and the fire department, they're always on emergency calls, right? So when you reframe it like that, Amy, it just really sinks in because humans love analogies and learning by mental models. So you have that immune system, and they're constantly on alert. They're over here on this problem, fixing this, and then those microplastics become a garbage pile or dump that the city has to go, oh man, we got to take care of this, wall it off, and blah blah. Right? It makes a bigger deal than it should be. Do you see how there's nuances in all these things? So these people talking about these things, they don't have the cell city framework that I created, but they're not. Does that make sense?
So, kind of to make things more simple for people, you talk a lot about the importance of hydration, but you talk about it in a way that's different from other people. So, can you tell people what dehydration is doing to us?
Everything. Yeah,
Everything bad. Yes.
everything bad. Everything, literally, everything bad. Imagine. Can we go back to the city analogy?
Yeah.
I always like using that because it just makes things for the listener and the viewer really easy to understand. Everything the city relies on three things: flow, energy, and then nutrients. So flow is like, think of the blood vessels as canals and waterways, right?
Yeah.
So there's things flowing down those waterways because blood's mostly water. So, like I said, we're just going to use city analogies because it really helps people understand. So when there's a lot of water in the canals, everything's great and things are flowing, right? When the city doesn't have enough water, it puts water into canals that are important, like your heart, your lungs, your liver, and it starts to take some water away from the less important things like your skin, your hair.
Right.
Your hair doesn't matter as much as your heart does.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
got it? So
Yeah.
when you're dehydrated, the body's always managing water 24 hours a day. And as you've read in my book, all the things on the red side of the model, what do those do? Cause dehydration. So stress causes dehydration, sugar causes dehydration, the phones cause dehydration, not connecting to nature causes dehydration, right? Does that make sense? Everything on the green side hydrates you.
So, everyone
It's just
knows. Yeah. Sorry. So,
simple.
everyone has been told drink more water. You have to drink more water or drink enough water. But you mentioned structured water. So just not drink more water, but drink the right type of water. So can you explain what that means?
Water is water is a polar molecule. So water is H2O, right? You know
Yes.
that, correct?
Yes.
So imagine H2O. There's two hydrogen and one oxygen, right? They get together like building blocks. That's why you have hydrogen bonding, because the oxygen binds the hydrogen binds the oxygen, like Legos.
Perfect.
Got it? Those
Yes.
Legos connect together to create information. And so that's what structured water is. So let me explain something to the listener and the viewer. If you don't drink structured water, your body will make it,
Okay.
because it has to make it, because otherwise information doesn't get passed. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. So the water that comes out of my tap, is
It's
that
not
structured?
structured. No.
Why not?
Because going through the pipes, right angles,
Hmm.
destructures it. Stress, destructure. Water's a living thing. So water in nature, in waterfalls, in rivers, in springs, all that's structured because it's constantly going like this, flowing back and forth, getting oxygenated, getting the electromagnetic energy from the sun. So it's getting what's the word? It's the mineralized, and it's getting energized magnetically.
Yeah.
It's not happening in and then the water has memory. Okay, I know people might listen and go, well, who's this guy talking about memory?
Oh, we've
Well,
we've gone on the show. We've gone there, so it's
okay.
okay.
So
Yeah.
it's all so yeah, so that's a given. Water has memory, and you treat it badly, it's not going to work right.
Okay.
I mean, it's kind of that simple. That's why you think people bless water.
Mm.
Why do you think so they're not blessed when they bless the food, when they say, "Oh, God, bless this, meal for us." They're not blessing the food. They're blessing the water. Does that make sense? So anything you
Absolutely.
can do and you've talked about saying program before, anything to do to love your water, thank your water, whatever you got to do, say, hey, you get a glass of water, say, hey, thank you, water, for giving me life. It literally structures it, because
Now, where does that
consciousness,
glass come from? The water in the glass, because it can't come from the tap,
no,
right?
it can come from the tap.
Okay.
It's just not going to be the same as if you drink water from a spring that's
Right.
protected and whatever, right? If you drink it from the tap, let's say, right,
Yeah.
and you thank it and you stir it because that's kind of helping to swirl it and make. You can do some kind of structuring. It's not an exact, it's either structured or it's not structured. Does that make sense? The more you care about the water, the more it's going to help you. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Because
And
if you're mostly water as a human being, right? You're not 70% water like they say. You're 99% water. So 99 out of 100 molecules in your body is water. And when I realized that, I really started looking into water. That's been like, 4 or 5 years now, but I've researched water for a long time, because I'm like, if water is that important, maybe I should know as much as I can about it.
you also mentioned that a lot of our water is filtered to the point where the minerals are removed from it and things like that.
You know,
So, how do we replace those components?
you put in so minerals help to structure the water,
Mm,
right? So what happens when you drink reverse osmosis water with no minerals in it? It's not
mm,
structured, correct?
right.
Now you can add a little bit of structure by your thoughts and all that, but this is all a continuum. So if you're drinking reverse osmosis, which I don't recommend, you put minerals in, you put sea salt in there, Himalayan salt, bamboo salt, Celtic salt, whatever kind of salt, not iodized salt, because that's
Just our
stripped.
table salt, right?
Yeah, which is stripped of all minerals. It's like white bread.
Mm,
So you put something like what I say, like one of those natural salts in there. But you can also, the devices I use are called MEA devices. Now, what does that mean? There's this gentleman in Australia who's been doing it for 30 years, and he figured a way to structure water permanently. And he's been tasked by experts to prove that, and he's done that. And so why I say that, so he's able to structure it with these devices. I have a full one in my house that goes through all my pipes, so all my water in my house is structured. And when you structure the water, what happens is, like, I drink. So if we have tap water here in Los Angeles, what it does is all the bad things in the water, the chemicals and the pollutants. What it does when you structure the water, it makes those so they're inert. So does that make sense? So instead of being the chemical and the molecules together, it breaks them apart into their individual atoms, phosphorus, calcium, right? So they're not toxic.
Yeah,
Does that make sense? So when the things are
absolutely. Yeah.
together, they're toxic. When they're broken
Right.
up. So glyphosate, for example, everyone's concerned. You've heard of glyphosate, the pesticide. You probably
Everywhere.
have.
Yeah.
Okay. When it's broken down into its elemental parts, which is phosphorus, I think calcium, chlorine. I'm not sure if I don't remember exact, but when they're broken down, they're just elements. And then the body can use them. It can use them in another capacity. It can dispose of them. But the main thing too, Amy, is when the city wants. Let me restate this. When the city is resilient, all these things are less damaging by doing things on the green side.
Yep.
When a city is under stress, or your body, these things are compounded. It's really that simple.
Yep. Well, I'm going to have you hold that thought. We're going to pause for a break from our sponsor. You're listening to Energize and Revitalize with Dr. Amy. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Energize and Revitalize with Dr. Amy. I'm Dr. Amy Cooper Smith, and my guest today is Ben Smith. Before the break, we were talking about the ultimate health model, the positive and negative lifestyle factors that make us healthy or not. And you did a really good job of referring to the body as a city in the cells. So, can you tell us a little more about that and how disruption in that city can cause disease?
Absolutely. So let's take, for example, diabetes.
Mm,
Millions of people suffer from diabetes, and the narrative out there is, and the definition of diabetes is too much sugar in the blood. Okay, so people think, okay, well, if I stop eating sugar, diabetes goes away, right? Because if it's too much sugar in the blood, right? That there's a very big disconnect there. So with the cell city analogy, so when there's too much sugar in the blood, let's think of there's too much cargo in the waterways. It's kind of backing up, right? So the canals are backed up with sugar because the sugar is dissolved in the water of the waterways. It's just, but what's going on, the reason the cells can't use it is because those mitochondria and engines are damaged. So if they could pulled in all the sugar that you keep putting it, into your body, it would cause those engines to blow up, so to speak.
mm,
So diabetes, for the people listening, is not a problem with sugar per se. It's a problem with those mitochondrial engines not being able to process that energy.
right. How the body deals with it is dysfunctional. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why kids don't have diabetes, but they're starting to get diabetes because they're eating so much sugar and there's so much stress from the phones. All that is causing, sugar to build up in the blood too because of stress. So that's why it's the mitochondria or the engines being damaged. Imagine an engine like your car, and you're trying to give it gas, but the pistons are blown.
Mhm.
It doesn't. So that's why these analogies are so important, because the mechanic can go, oh, you can't just keep feeding it gas. It's not going to do anything. When the engine's humming, you can give it gas or diesel or what, right? So you got to keep those engines humming, and that's the mitochondria. And how do you do that? The green side.
The green side.
Well, what to say
Yeah.
right there on my model. Remember, it says all the things on the green side. If you go up to the circles, one of the circles is boost mitochondrial function. On the red side, you do things on that side, causes mitochondrial dysfunction.
Yep. So one of the things you do have on that red side is eating
Yeah,
processed foods and high sugar
yeah,
foods,
yep.
right? So when you eat things that are processed and not real, it causes more dysfunction, correct?
Because what it's doing is it's causing stress on the cells. It's causing dehydration. It's causing, and then all those things cause inflammation, right? Remember the circles? It's all a circle, and they're all happening instantaneously. It's not like one happens and then 10 minutes later something else. It's all happening instantaneously. And so when you eat processed food, you are causing the dehydration, which is causing damage to the mitochondria, and if those are getting damaged, then they can't process the fuel correctly because they're damaged. You see how it's all a big circle?
Can you explain how eating processed food can contribute to a person's dehydration?
So yeah, so what's going on is that causes stress on the
Okay.
cells in the city. Well, just think of it. So it has to process it's got chemicals in there, all these things, and then that causes stress and inflammation. So anything that does that causes dehydration. All three of those things are interconnected instantaneously: chronic dehydration, chronic inflammation, and chronic stress. So when someone is stressed out, why do you think people that have a lot of stress, their skin gets all wrinkly or now you understand. So the body's pulling water from the skin because it's not as important as the heart. So chronic stress causes your hair to fall out. Well, I mean, not fall all the way, but you know what I'm saying? Because
It
it's,
can, absolutely.
well, that
Shedding and yeah.
now you know why. Because it's like the city's like, no, the city, remember city, the city's like, no, hair's not important. But this heart thing, which is the main power plant, is otherwise the lights go out in the city forever.
Yeah, we don't want that.
No, makes sense?
Yeah. So in your book, you talk about nutritional studies and the flawed studies, and so how can the average person look at a nutrition study and figure out if it's valid or not?
That's a tough
That is a tough
question.
one.
Yeah, because you can't really,
Yeah.
because there's so many variables involved. Okay, so here's the problem with all studies, not even just observational or it's kind of what they call what is observational where they ask someone what they ate, and then they have like hundreds of thousands of people, but all they do is give them a questionnaire, ask
Yeah.
them what they ate, and then to tabulate these results. So they put lasagna in the same category as meat when there's a bunch of carbs. So it doesn't even make logical sense. The problem with like an interventional study controlled where someone's like they ask somebody to do something and have 100 participants and they say, okay, you're going to eat this diet, you're going to exercise. There's hundreds of cofactors they can't
Yeah.
control for. How much stress is the person under? Are they
Right.
nose breathing or mouth breathing? That's going to skew the results completely. So there is zero really studies that will tell you causation on anything. They can associate things, and that's why when you see stuff and they say this is associated with that, like, oh, red meat's associated with higher risks of dementia because they can't say cause because
Right.
they know they get in trouble. But yeah, so and for people listening, remember association does not really mean anything. It just means that's associated with that. It didn't mean that caused that. So what you're back to what you're saying, you can't. You just have to use your common sense and this model and go, does that make sense that eggs cause heart disease? Well, we've been eating eggs for 100,000, 500,000. Maybe it's okay, right? You just got to use your common sense. And that's what people need to do, right?
Yeah. A few years ago, I decided to do a certification through the Obesity Society. And they started out, the very first lecture was okay, there's this study where people ate a ketogenic diet and they had superior results. And then here's the study where people who ate a plant-based diet had superior results. And this was, inpatient, maybe 9 people per study.
Yeah.
So,
So,
like, okay, well, which is it? Because
yeah,
they
which is it?
actually contradicted each other.
Yeah, and that's the problem is a lot of people in the public a study just came out that
Right.
cholesterol does this, or breaking study. I mean, I know it's like, okay, it doesn't matter, and people don't know that, and that's what has to be. And more people are understanding that from the internet and YouTube and all these things, but just understand that no study really says anything, because unless you lock somebody in a ward for 100 years, control everything they ate, also control their stress level exactly, and you need to put tape over their mouth to make sure their nose right. You can't, but you have no idea what's even going on in their head. So it's an impossibility. So what they do is they say, we've controlled. You've heard that word? We've controlled for the co-founders.
Right.
What do you mean you control? You lied? What do you mean you controlled? How did you control for them? You can't.
Yeah.
And then
A
people
lot of
hear
times,
that. What?
yeah.
Go ahead.
A lot of times too, when you read the fine print of the studies, like the headline will say one thing, the title will say something, but then they actually in the body of this 12-page paper, they say, oh well, actually, this is what
Yeah,
happened. And
yeah,
so a lot of people aren't seeing that. They're just seeing that headline.
yeah. They see the headline and they're like, "Oh wow, I can't do this." But you just gotta let your common sense take over and go, "Wait, does this make sense?" Personally, I eat like 10 eggs a day.
That's a lot of
Every day.
eggs.
At least eight. Yeah, I probably eat 300 a month.
Yeah,
People go,
that's
wow. I mean, I'm 56. I have no health problems. So obviously, and like we talked about cholesterol in the city is just repair material and material for like the cells or buildings you want to call, right. It's material. How could that cause problems, right? So now, if you understand, as a city, and then the LDL, which everyone's heard of LDL.
yeah.
Think of those as barges going down the canals, with the repair material and some other materials on the barges going to the buildings to repair them. That's what's going on, though. It's all engineered. The body's engineered. So now, if you think of it like that, someone listening go, huh? Maybe LDL is not a problem. Well, maybe how could these barges cause a problem, and that stuff in the barges, the cargo, it doesn't even make sense, right? I mean,
Yep. Yep. And we have a whole show coming up just to talk about cholesterol and what it really does. So I can't wait to share that with everyone. So we're almost out of time for our talk today, but how can people find out more about you and what you're up to?
yeah, absolutely. So they can go to anywhere they find the Ultimate Health Model on my shirt. We own that. I trademarked this. This is me. If you see Ultimate Health Model, it's Benjamin Smith. So you can go to Instagram, message us there. Go to YouTube at Ultimate Health Model. We got tons of videos there. Go to TikTok. Subscribe to our channel. We're actually speaking in England in a few months here. Anyone who's listen in England, I think it's Kent in England. Come on down, watch us speak. We're up with some other speakers there as well. So we're all over the place. But just anywhere you say Ultimate Health Model,
Yep.
ultimatehealthmodel.com, we own that. So whatever you need
Excellent.
help with, let us know.
Yeah. And I think everyone should check out your book as well. Both
And the audiobook.
in the
Amy,
audiobook,
you have
especially.
You have to
Um,
get before we go, the audio. So we are, and I'm not bragging, we are the only authors in history to ever win an award for the same book with two different formats. We've won two awards. Our print book won an award, 4 stars or a silver award, and our audiobook won a gold award.
well, congratulations.
Yeah, so that's the audiobook is really good. So people, who don't like reading, I'm telling you, you're gonna. It's like listening. It's like listening to a movie in your ears. It's what you're doing. And you'll be entertained. And there's some surprises in the audiobook. You're gonna laugh. You're gonna cry, and you're gonna go, "That's me."
Ah, I love it. Well, thank you again. I've really enjoyed our talk today.
Thank you so much.
And thanks to our listeners for tuning in to Energize and Revitalize with Dr. Amy. Do you have insights from the show? Send me an email at radiantpodcast2025@gmail.com. Check out past episodes on YouTube, and we're also featured on Apple and all your favorite podcast platforms. I'll be back next Saturday morning at 7:30 with more expert insights and practical strategies to help you live a radiant and healthy life. Until then, here's to your best life.